Well, first of all, let's start on time, would you?
Well, I was being polite to Ron. I didn't want to cut him off.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a first.
All right, well, let's call the meeting of, what is today? January
19th.
19th of the Board of Parks and Recreation to order. Wendy, is there something you want to do first?
Yes, please. Can I swear Mr. Sowards in as a board member because he was reappointed? You ready, Mike?
I'm ready when you are.
All right. I, Michael E. Sowards,
I, Michael E. Sowards,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge my duties
and impartially discharge my duties
as a member of the Munster Park and Recreation Board,
as a member of the Munster Park and Recreation Board,
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability, so help me God.
and to the best of my abilities, so help me God. I had my hand raised too.
I know, I trust you. All right, very good, Mike. Thank you so much. I sent you
Thank you.
an email, and so if you could sign it and send it on back, then I'll get this filed. I file it, record it with the Lake County Recorder's Office, and you're 100% official then. So congratulations and welcome on board.
Congratulations, Mike.
Congratulations.
So,
Thanks.
Another 4-year
Congratulations.
sentence.
Yeah. Bad behavior.
Yeah. And I don't want to recount on this either. All right. So the first item is if there is anyone out there from the public, and I understand there is not. I
There's
take
no
it that
public-
hasn't changed.
Mr. President, there's no public input. I would ask though, Janice had an emergency today, and I know at our last meeting, she's our recording secretary. I do have Jill Higgins doing that duty today for us, so I just wanted to make you all aware. I don't think you need a motion on that, but just wanted to make sure that it's on the record.
Okay. That's fine here. So the first or the second item would be administrative matters. Approval of last this month's earlier meeting on January 5th minutes. I looked at them, they looked okay to me. Anybody else?
I didn't attend, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next thing are the vouchers. We have 3 of them. Any questions or concerns? I saw there was one on there for $4,500 for Dave's tree service.
Yeah. How many trees did he cut down? That's
Yeah,
a
what
lot.
was that all about?
There- Kevin's on the call. Kevin, you want to mention that?
I think he's muted.
You're muted though, if you can hear me, Kevin Dark. There was, I know that there was a number of trees at various locations. We had a really large in the middle of community park in between the ball fields, in center field of, I think that's field A, I could be wrong, maybe that's B there. I know there was a real tough one that was right up against, we were worried about it falling on top of at Heritage Park, falling on the home. They had to reach it from Columbia Avenue with extended boom. So I know that was also another large one there that we had to deal with. And then I want to say it was 3 or 4 others that we could have taken down. But that was all of those that we've been doing with them. It was just a random kind of a couple of outstanding ones that were too large for our crews to be able to take down.
And Dave, just for experience, when we take down trees, they're usually running about $1,000 a tree, if they're any of decent size. So
Yeah, I've had bids on my own house. I know it's not cheap.
it's not fun.
I'm just, keeping an eye on that contract.
I will add that he did mulch up some of those for us, and we actually were able to take the mulch and use it at Heritage Park in the walking trail in the park there. So that's something that our guys have been doing here over the last couple of months as time permits and they can get out there.
Okay, thanks. That's all I had on the vouchers. Anybody else?
I don't.
All right, we need a motion.
All right, I'll motion to pass the whatevers.
I'll
Approve the
second,
vouchers?
Yeah, the vouchers.
I will second it so Wendy can pay them.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay,
Um,
now it's time for Mark's report.
Yes, Mr. President, it's going to be a little bit longer of a meeting today than normal that I've been having with you. So I want to highlight a few different things there. We did do some depth mapping at Clay Hole Lake as well as Maynard Lake here in the last month, helping us with future fish stocking plans at both of those lakes, as well as whatever we decide to do future development plans at Clay Hole. It is very shallow out there. That whole lake, you can pretty much wade across most of it. I think both lakes have the deepest points were around 14 feet deep. So neither one was real deep as that stuff was done. Brewfest Partners and Indigo Golf. Indigo Golf is the new name of, just a reminder for what was formerly Billy Casper. They've discussed doing more pop-up beer gardens this coming year, and I think we're in support of that. They're looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, once a month in the month of May, June, July, August, and September. They did this last year, was very successful, and I think we want to encourage that, but I wanted to bring it to your attention, just garner your interest if there was anyone who had any heartburn in regards to that. I know alcohol in parks sometimes can doesn't always mix, but I think that this was done pretty professionally and really well. And in our management agreement with Indigo, unless you would kind of tell me differently, I would kind of give them the go ahead to make that work. Obviously, it's a source of revenue that ultimately helps us, where hopefully we'll be supporting them less and less over time out there. So just wanted to bring that up for your interest and awareness. The end of year report, the annual report, we'll talk about that later in today's meeting. That's been assembled here. I also out at Centennial Park, we've talked to a bunch of different contractors about some remodel work at the clubhouse. There's really two things. One is adding a cooktop hood, an additional hood into the kitchen, what I'll call the banquet room kitchen, at the far west end of the building there. That will allow us to put all cooking equipment in that room. I don't know if you guys are aware, there's days where there's banquets and Chef Matt actually does the cooking in the view kitchen, and they're bringing food down from the view kitchen down the hallway to the banquets, which doesn't seem a real good, efficient use of space and time there for us. But to do those types of changes, we're looking at probably about a $37,000 total expense. There's a bunch of different trades that do have to be get involved, from HVAC, a roofer to cut through. We have to add a new hole to the roof and add another vent. The fire suppression that goes into that, and then kind of rearranging some of the gas lines. There's a existing sprinkler head that has to be capped, and so there's quite a bit but I think it's a worthwhile investment to put us all under one roof in that area there. So that is something that we're working on. I'll probably be bringing more detailed estimates to you at your next meeting. The second part of additional.
Do we have
Go ahead.
do we have coverage for that? Where would that be coming out of?
Coverage.
What budget? What part?
I think we could pay for it. We have enough left over.
For the 30.
We have enough balances in previous bond issues to cover both of these that I'll talk about today.
Okay.
The second one is,
sounds good.
If we do that, kind of remodeling the view, and I know I've kind of brushed on this a few times previously, remodeling the view into a designated rental facility and doing away with the concept of it being a restaurant. The differing things that would have to happen there is put up a solid wall behind the big barn doors when you walk up into the building there. We're looking at a glass wall that's very similar to a storefront type of wall, if you will. And then also we'd have to change out the floor in there and also remove the counters, do some closing up of the serving window that was the window to the view previously there. All of those differing things are estimated right now at about $51,000. So that's another one there that I think that in the end, I've asked Andrew, and Andrew's on this call here with us tonight, but I've asked him to share with me the previous years, the previous couple years of trends out there. We're definitely declining as far as view revenues, and we feel that what we really do well out there with Indigo is the banquets, and there's a need for them on the smaller size, those kinds of rooms. They've been using that room already in the condition that it's in, but I think this would give them a better designated type of space. And hopefully at the next meeting, I'll have better projections as far as what we believe that we can bring in there for having a designated space there for those types of banquets. I also see it as a benefit for the local economy. The people who would come there or normally would have come there for the restaurant will be able to, and it's going to support our local strip of restaurants that's up and down that area near the park. So I think it's a good thing for us from that perspective as well. So
Has there ever been a time when all the whole facility is completely in use and there's a need for more space?
I don't think that that's ever really been offered, but I think that it could allow that. And I think this also would allow it to have it where it's a simultaneous use, but I think it also allows the potential for a use maybe earlier in the day in one room and now later in the day in the other room. So that allows better flexibility for different types of rentals as well. Because I think really the view room itself really lends itself to be more of those fancier parties for your wedding showers, your bridal showers, baby showers, birthday parties. We've been doing a number of celebrations of life in there as well. So I think that that's an area that I think that we can really capitalize on. And I will say, I think as a restaurant, and I've never directly been involved with a restaurant in the past, but I know the challenges are to keep availability and food basically ready with the hope that someone walks in the door. The big difference with the banquets is we know who's coming. We know they're expecting 200 people and we're going to be feeding 200 people tonight for a banquet there. And I think this would allow us to better, staff it and operate it so we aren't just setting people sometimes to sit there and kind of twiddle their thumbs when no one's walking in to eat at times as a restaurant that we have. So I think that's something that like I said, I know I've mentioned that before. I wanted to give you some more details, and I'm probably going to bring it to you at your next meeting with a formal recommendation for you. Unless you have any other questions at this point, or as any other comments or thoughts.
No, I think the view's kind of been heading that direction anyway. So it'd be a nice small cocktail type of area.
And there is something that is something that Paulette did mention to me out there, that she did see where certain events where you could almost have that as the initial gathering point, and then you flow into the bigger banquet hall as kind of dinner's ready. So I think that that's something else that they'll be able to sell as well out there towards those types of packages. So moving on with the report on the recreation side, very proud that Jill was asked to be part of the Indiana Park and Recreation Associations. They had a virtual presentation last week, and she was one of the one presenting. She highlighted our event on the Walk in the Woods, which was very cool from our perspective, that the rest of the state people in the parks and rec industry are learning about that as well. The preparations are underway on the recreation side for quote unquote, we'll call it a normal summer, and we'll be ready to adjust as things change if necessary. So sponsorships for this year are rolling in. Land of Frost is a big one with our youth soccer. They came in for both the fall, spring and fall seasons. And we also have People's Bank is lined up there for the summer concert series. So
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. Which, by the way, we are going to keep our planning for on this concert series. We are going to keep it at Town Hall this year again, just thinking we're still going to need to social distance. So we did a visit with Santa, social distance. I was blown away that we had 70 people attend this as a drive-through visit with Santa at Town Hall that we did with the Girl Scouts. So that was very exciting for us right before Christmas time. And we do have a bunch of programs starting up this month. We're hopeful that you know we are still in the red status level as a county, so we can't gather more than 25 people anywhere. But we are trying to get started with events whenever we're able to do so with at our limited numbers there. Currently, teenagers is at 55 people. That's down by about half, which you would expect in the current situation that we're in. And for the, we've had 4 junior rentals that were at the social center. So again, we're telling people they can't have more than 25 people, but we were able to get a few of them in there. So that's a positive for us. Parking, the park maintenance side of things, Kevin actually just returned to work today, so you really don't have anything in your packet from him. On the Centennial Park side of things, we have continued with 17 in-person appointments this last month, and they've had 58 new online inquiries with 24 phone calls and 34 online direct to them as well. So the interest is still there in the banquets, even though that one of the first things we have to tell them is we can't go more than 25 people, at least initially. Although the ones down at Centennial typically are booking a lot further out in advance than what we get for the social center. On the golf side of things, I think I mentioned to you as well, and I'll highlight this a little bit in the end of year report, but golf rounds for 2020 in comparison to 2019, rounds of golf were up by 19%, green fees were up 53%, cart fees were down. A lot of more people were walking this year because of COVID. So that dropped substantially at 44%. Range revenue was up 30%. It's a good social distance activity, especially a lot of learners were going there, we feel. And then of course the big one, the food and beverage revenue was down by 60% out at Centennial. So and overall, I mean, we definitely obviously were down at Centennial as we had to kind of get some additional support dollars to get them through the winter months when they don't have the revenues coming in at this point. A lot of course maintenance is going on with preventative maintenance and the normal type of things that we'll do at this time of year to keep the course ready for the springtime as we get ready for the weather to break here coming up in a few months. But that's it for the board report.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got any questions? Okay, let's move on to items for discussion. The first one is the 2021 grounds maintenance contract with Cutting Edge Landscaping.
And Mr. President, this is again one that we had last year. This is only for 2 parks, Heritage Park. They do some minor trimming for us there and on the walkways, keeping things cut back and available and open. And then they also deal with the landscape beds out at West Lakes Park, which they're pretty substantial, mainly in the parking lots there. But they're holding their price that we had with them for last year, and we're recommending awarding this work to them again for the 2021 season.
Sounds like a good deal to me. Anybody have any questions? If not, we're gonna need a motion then.
Motion to accept those proposals.
Second,
Don't all shout at once.
second,
Okay, we have a motion. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the draft of the park rules. Has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yep.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mark.
Mr. President, this is one that, again, I know we highlighted this a couple meetings back, and just again, I've talked with Attorney Wickland a couple of times in regards to this, and we wanted to kind of just make sure that there's nothing in there that you're not opposed to or kind of giving you a heartburn, if you will. And if that's the case, I'll ask him to draft it into a resolution format so we can formally approve it at a future meeting. I did have a couple of comments in regards to a few things since I drafted it and sent it out to you. I would add, I guess, number 14 is currently it's skateboarding, rollerblading, and bike riding is prohibited on all athletic courts. and the entertainment stage at Centennial Park. I didn't realize this till yesterday going out to the park. One of our rules that's posted there is there's no skateboarding in Centennial Park at all. So I guess I would ask you to leave that as is, so we don't have to change that sign. No one's really complaining about it to us. So I guess we would leave it as skateboarding is prohibited as Centennial Park. And I think if we want, we may want to add rollerblading and scooters to that. I'm not sure if you guys feel that way. Seems to be the biggest use out there is walkers. I know they're not even always happy when bike riders come through. But wanted your input on it from that perspective.
Does that include the bike trail though?
That's always the difficulty there, Mike. It's where does the park end and where does it stop? So I mean, I think that the bike trails, we would allow rollerblading, obviously bikes and scooters going through there. So I think that's definitely one of the challenges. And I also think that I'm surely kids have ridden their skateboard down the bike path as well.
Yeah, and I think you just have to be specific because there's a path around Centennial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I see people, kids on skateboards all the time.
Yeah. And bicycles and
bicycles
and yeah.
Yep. So that could be construed as that, because that's all part of it's in the park, not on the side of it, but it goes through the park.
I would think the Penzie Greenway is separate from Centennial Park, I guess would be my argument to it. So I think then we just start to talk about the pathways within the park. And
I'm talking about the pathways within the park, like within if you're in Centennial.
And
By
you're
the
going
lake,
around.
you're talking about around the lake, that kind
Yeah.
of thing?
Right.
Right.
And I think no matter what you do, unless there's enforcement of it, it doesn't
Right.
matter. It's a free for all. It's a matter of, do we want that rule on the books that if somebody comes in there with a scooter flying through and knocking people over?
You're talking about a motorized scooter or
Well,
not?
Anytime.
Well, we do prevent, there is something in there about motorized vehicles that are prohibited. So I think that covers it from that perspective.
Well, to Mike's point, I consider around the lake in that area by the performance stage and all of that as one where it would be better to have, walkers as opposed to skateboarders
It's pretty crowded.
and all of that kind of stuff going on. I know what you're talking about on the outside,
Well,
the Penzie part of it.
There's kids that can take that path from, I can just speak to my own kid who can take the path from my house to down, the Penzie over there, because I'm over in Cobblestone now, and back, you can go right through there to cut to 45th to go over to like Calumet Avenue. So that's the route that he would take, and he is always on his scooter. So that would be prohibited then, is what you're saying.
Yes.
What do you mean scooter? You talking about a motorized thing?
No, just you're talking like the little scooters. They're like a skateboard with a handle.
Skateboard with handlebar.
Yeah.
Well, then he's going to be subject to a fine. That's just what's going to happen, Mike.
$2,500.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm in favor of that.
I mean,
I'll have to
Do you
work
want
on
to
is
drop
this-
your?
You're
You
gonna
want
have
to
to
drop your
recuse
money?
yourself anyway.
You want to drop your money in now? Is it inevitable?
Is this?
Or what?
Yeah, I'll Venmo you.
you already paid for the outdoor concert series, so why not this?
You got a credit card.
I mean, I guess my point is this a big problem? Are we getting a lot of complaints about skateboarders in Centennial Park?
I haven't. I think though the stage area is a place that we've noticed it, that when I asked my staff to review these proposed rules, that was one that they recommended, hey, don't put it there. I do think that ramp as you walk down behind the stage, that's a natural if you're on a skateboard to just like.
Absolutely. And I have no problem with that around the. I have no problem with that around the stage. I don't know that I would start to limit in the whole park.
Well, it's
Because
like I said, the current rule that's out there that's posted is no skateboarding. So I mean, we can leave it as skateboarding.
But isn't it posted by the concert, by the stage, right?
It's on the entrance point to the park. So it's the Centennial Park rules sign. I mean,
Huh.
there's also something on that sign about fishing, and I'm trying to think of the other one. I think the park hours are on that sign as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, the one that I noticed today was going to the clubhouse, or yesterday, going to the clubhouse, it's on the right-hand side as you pull in along the landfill side there.
Well, does the route that your son takes, Mike, does it involve the, the around the clubhouse, around the lake? That circle right in there, that to me seems like
Right.
a place where you just want to walk and not be, bothered.
Well, I mean, it just goes from, the dog park, think about that over there,
Yeah,
through the park to 45th to Calumet Avenue.
yeah,
Like the straightest route would be just that path.
right.
And I see bikers on there all the time, going to
Yeah.
Calumet Avenue.
Yeah.
Well, let me recommend that we leave it as just changing it to being skateboard is prohibited at Centennial Park, but it'll be skateboarding only, because I think that's where you start to get into the grinding on
Yeah.
and things like that. The scooters, because I also agree with you, Mike, from the standpoint of that there's always this debate of we want people to use the park. I can see a mom going out there with their little kid with their little helmet on and 3-year-old on the scooter they got for Christmas and walking with their dog. I mean, they're barely
And then
moving.
someone calling the police on them because there's a scooter in the park.
That's where the police would police correctly and nicely and say, hey, this is the issue. I think if they're not causing a problem, I don't think that anyone would call. But again, it comes down to
Naive. Oh, so naive.
So
I won't get into the hours that are in our town code about bike rules, and that's vary at different times of the year. So.
But now we have that bike bridge to get to Calumet, so the traffic will probably go around it as far as coming off the.
It will eventually, Robin. Right now, the trail there's a missing segment from basically behind the gardens to the bridge.
Okay.
Centennial Village is really developed. That probably won't, unless the town advances and puts that missing section in. Right now, kind of detoured route is the way Mike was describing. You basically have to go through the North Drive area out to the hotel to Calumet and then go across all the way to the tracks. So the bridge, because if you cross the tracks coming into the park and you get to the bridge, the backside of the bridge right now, it's basically dead end. There's nothing to go to. There's nothing paved once you cross the bridge.
Right.
It's been too cold for me to check that out yet.
Can I ask a question on number 2? Alcoholic beverages and glass containers are prohibited. I assume those are separate, right? Not alcoholic beverages in glass containers. You just don't want any glass containers in the park. That's correct.
We don't want glass containers and we don't want alcohol. The only places we would allow alcohol would be at Centennial with the permit that Indigo has. So they can serve alcohol within Centennial, and then we do allow it also inside at the social center at Community. So those would be the only 2 places that we would allow alcohol unless you would choose to want to change that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just was making, because it seems like an odd sentence. This is just the grammar guy coming out of me. Alcoholic beverages in glass containers.
Gotcha. Yeah, we want to avoid, we'll get that corrected. We wanted those, really both of those items individually would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Well, if we're gonna be picky on number 11, after Centennial Golf Course, you should probably put and driving range.
Okay.
True.
Yeah. Well, unless the driving range is inclusive of the golf course.
Well, I don't know.
I'll suggest it to when Dave starts to put this together. I would think the driving range is part of the golf course. I think that would be common, but that's just my interpretation of it. But
The other question I had is, it relates to 21. Are there signs on the baseball fields?
yes, they typically do seek sponsorship signage on those. Yes. So, and that's one that we've, I think, granted to them to allow them to get. So I think that's, that's why I think I had that caveat without the permission, at least from the department head, so we can have someone give that authority to say, yes, you can go ahead and do that.
So when those guys are putting signs out, then they're going through you or the department to, they
That
just
would be-
don't throw them up.
That would be
Every year, they're not doing that every year, are they?
I didn't think they were either.
Yeah, this, I don't know if that's the way that I think this would be my suggestion from this point moving forward. I don't think that it's happened in the past that way.
I can speak for Little League and no, that's not how that happens. That's just assume that that's grandfathered in, that they can put sponsor signage up.
And I think we've already approved the memorandum of understanding with Babe Ruth this last year. I am hoping to get those done also with Little League and softball for the coming year, this year. And that would probably be something that we would want to put right in there. So it's just in there, it's covered, it's defined. So we have it, it's shown that we're okay with that to where that's going and so forth.
I mean, from a practical standpoint, most of these things aren't being done anyway. And, too many rules sometimes makes it more
100%.
troublesome than not, but I don't know what else to say.
No, I do agree with you. There's a lot of those that, and I think some of these are just in response to cleaning up things that are on our current books and so forth. And trying to make sure, and since we're doing that, just making, allowing us this opportunity to kind of refresh some of these and come into play. As far as fishing, number 20, catch and release fishing is only allowed in Maynard Park at Centennial Park, or Maynard Lake, I'm sorry, I should say, at Centennial Park. Ice fishing is prohibited. My question was, do we want to allow that anything at Clay Hole? I think people are already fishing at Clay Hole.
No.
Okay.
No.
I hear the fishing's real good there, and I don't think they're releasing them.
No, and I wouldn't want to eat anything from that lake either. It'd be nasty fish.
I'll have to go give it a try to let you
And
know.
swimming in it from all the geese. Ugh. No.
Okay, anybody else?
Nope.
So you're gonna give this to Dave and he's gonna come up with a resolution and then it's up to the town council from then on.
Yeah, we'll have you guys approve it, then we'll present it to them and see how they want to do it. Obviously, the hours are in there and so forth like that. So that's maybe one of the big ones that they'll be interested in. So.
Well, that is true. I mean, there's been talk about making it later at, especially at Centennial. So everybody's okay with dusk?
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And a fine up to $2,500 is okay too?
Yeah. I wouldn't think we would ever go that high.
Well, if somebody was hunting, I would.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. They were shooting.
Depends on who they're hunting. I mean, what they're hunting.
And that was a suggestion from Wickland too. Just he said, do it as an up to, so you have the flexibility to go
Right.
higher. or
Yeah,
lower.
no, I understand. We could.
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it less.
Multiple
Enough to scare you.
Yeah.
Right.
Enough to scare you.
The
from
threat of
doing it.
$2,500 is good. All right. Do we need anything formal on this?
I don't think we need any approvals. I just wanted to have it as a discussion, so you guys make sure everyone had the opportunity to give some input in regards to that. So.
Okay. Moving on with no records in sight. We are now on the 2020 annual report and year in review.
You guys, we put this together. I believe you, Greg, and others have done this in the past for you. This is something that we as a department are required to put together annually and also then present to the town council. So I don't know if that's occurred or not in the past, but so I'll go through and I guess highlight a few things in here. It's pretty self-explanatory if you got to go through it already. Just kind of summary, a lot more. It's not as detailed as a business annual plan or annual report, but it does kind of give some of the highlights of our department as kind of annual report / year in review, as I like to call it. So
Is this will this be available for members of the public if they come in the office, they pick up a copy or?
we can make
online?
we can even post it on our website if we want. I mean, there's various ways that we can do that if we want to so choose to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea to.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna assume that you guys all get a chance to go through it, so I don't want to reiterate all of it there. I do want to point out, I know Dan, you had asked me back a few months ago, and I put this in here with the knowing that this will be presented to the town council, that our department full-time staff, I showed we have a maintainer 2 position as open, and not wanting to forget about that because I'm in support of trying to bring back and fill that position here this coming year. So that's a discussion I'll have with Justin as we get closer to the outdoor season, when we'll probably be in more need of additional manpower that way. So that is shown in there. I just wanted to highlight that one. Overall, from a financial standpoint, we were approved to go to a $2.6+ million budget last year. We only ended up at 2.23. So we basically, we brought in revenues of 2.23. We had expenses of 2.12. And so it was 80% of our budget is what we spent. As you can expect, in a year of COVID, I think everyone here in the town was tightening their belts and trying to, limit expenses. And obviously a lot of activities didn't occur that normally would. So it might have been in certain areas, it was a little bit easier at times for us to do that. So that was a plus for us to be able to help with the conditions financially that the town was running through that way. Also our 770 fund, which is basically our non-reverting, it's a lot of our donations and sponsorships. That one had a good positive year. We brought in $38,000 and plus in revenues and had 26,000 and change in expenses. So that was a plus for us in that department, or in that particular fund as well. Bunch of new equipment came in into our parks. We obviously updated our playground out at at Circle Park. We also did the partnership with the school town with some of the school facilities. So that was a big plus for us. You're aware of our pool. We talked about the pool as that year wound down, that we took a loss out there, but we knew going into it that was going to occur. The Centennial Park, I mentioned that earlier, as far as their percentages and that results from the year. They'll be doing a full presentation, I think, at our next meeting. Andrew and Bill from Indigo will be presenting that to us at the next meeting, just so you're aware of that coming up. That's pretty much about it. I kind of want to jump to the last page of it, just kind of highlight, social media has really become a major thing for us. We really are pushing more and more. We increased our followers on Instagram by 30%. We increased them on Facebook by 17%. Just looking at Facebook, we have 5,700 plus followers. As you look at that as a percentage to the town, I mean, assuming 23,000 people in town, we're about 20% of the community, if you will, that's following us. So I think that's a pretty substantial number. If you compare it to households, I think it's even a higher percentage. So that's a pretty good number, and we continue to do things on there, especially now during these COVID times, to try to get people to follow us. So when we do have more activities, that we can throw them on there, and especially if they are as the changes come in from the governor, where we can get the word out pretty quickly if we're allowed to have activities at the higher percentage rates. As far as participants gathering and so forth. Goals for 2021 are also on there at the very end. I guess the very interesting one, I know I kicked an email out to a lot of you individually, but the number 4th one down there of investigating the pay to park plan at Centennial, I wanted to make sure to get your feedback. If anyone had anything you wanted to verbalize, in a public meeting before we go too far. Looking into that, if you wanted to have an opportunity to speak to that to everybody and have it on the record.
Now, or
I still owe you a response.
yeah.
Oh my.
I'm just gonna put mine on the record now and say that I'm really not in favor of that, for a lot of reasons. And I think the main reason is due to when I get those calls or comments from residents about the usage of it, when I drill down to what the issue is, I just feel like we want to be really careful in how do I say this? That it's not a coded reason for doing that. There's not a reason that we don't want a specific group of people that are using that park. And that has been really prevalent this year. You know, it's been the message that I've seen on social media. It's been the message that I see, that I hear from people. And I don't want to be a part of that. So I will say for my part, I don't back that at all.
Yeah, I was also of let's give it a year or so. It's a COVID type of summer we had last year, and the influx was different than anything we have ever seen. So I was kind of on the same group to just kind of put that off. Whenever we get the Centennial Village built up, and if there's actually a real parking issue, I understand we can go and readdress it. But yeah, I'm not really in favor of paid parking at this moment in time.
And I just want to reiterate, this was something that I did on my own kind of notice, and going back to even as you guys interviewed me and issues that we heard and that were brought up, that you know, I did some research and talked to the town of Whiting or the city of Whiting in regards to what, because that's what they do up at their lakefront, and just to get some comparables for us. I have asked and Public Works to do a traffic count for us in the month of April, which kind of a middle of the road month, to get us just an idea of how many people are coming and going into the park. So we have that for future reference as well. This is something that ultimately, I think the comments that I've heard that people have called our office in regards to, it's about, hey, I live in Munster, I pay taxes for it, I'm not going there because there's just too many people who are from other communities there. And, you know, based upon Illinois license plates, and that's fine if people feel that way.
It's a little, again, that's a little coded. You have to recognize that.
And that's fine. I look at it from the standpoint of, if there's a lot of non-residents coming there, I don't care if they're from Illinois or Dyer, Sherrill, or anywhere, they're not paying a penny to operate, to use that park, and they're getting the benefit of the access to it. So that's kind of where I was bringing that up from.
But we, and this was before your time, Mark, but we had a lot of discussions, even in you know, discussions about Centennial and the View and Centennial Village, about Centennial being a destination park and how we wanted to attract customers from other communities. So we can't, you know, in one hand say we want to have a destination where we can attract people from other communities, come visit us, come shop at our stores, come eat at our restaurants. And then on the other hand, say, you know what, we really don't want you, pay to park here. I just think it's sending a bad message.
Plus, I like to go to Wicker Park and stuff, and I would really be upset if they started to pay for parking over there too. I mean, everybody goes to different parks around this area, so.
My concern is the Munster residents. Some of us live close by, and we could walk there, or, you know, maybe ride a bike there. And some others in this town, you know, maybe on the farther north end, they have to get in their cars to maybe get to Centennial. And I don't think it's fair that some of our people would have to pay and some wouldn't. In addition, I think trying to be fair to the Munster people is that, you know, some of the subdivisions that are near the park, people will start parking in those subdivisions, maybe cutting through a yard or cutting through. And I don't think we should want some of those parking issues in our residents where, you know, kids are playing or whatever. So I think in general, and looking into our town itself, are we treating all our town people equally? And that's how I was looking at it.
I kind of feel the same way that Ron does. I think it would be really bad if Munster residents had to pay to park in the park, especially when you're paying taxes. I mean, maybe Whiting does, I don't know, but they got Lake Michigan. So for Munster, for sure, I'm against it. And I understand what Mike's talking about too. This issue came up with basketball before as well. And guys playing basketball and the neighbors complaining about that. And, I know how WhatsApp Munster or What's Up Munster, what the people on that thing say. So yeah, I agree. It's a very dicey issue. And I just don't think we'd make any money at it anyway, because listening, I was there when those guys presented, and it's not like it's free. So, I mean, are we really going to be charging that kind of money to make it worthwhile? And I also said too about weddings, there's no place around here where you go to a wedding where you got to pay to park. So I would think that, that nickel and diming kind of stuff would rub somebody the wrong way when they're going to see, the nephew get married. When you can go to performing arts or any other facility around here, and you're not paying to park unless maybe there's a valet. But I'm not real in favor of it either.
Well, I won't waste my time on that much working on it. I'm happy to put it on the map.
Well, it's not up to us anyway, as I understand, because this is the town council's baby, I thought. Right?
I mean, it is a park, and you guys are the park board. So I mean, that's we're in there.
There are certain members of the town council that have expressed interest in it, but again, I think it falls within our area, within us.
Well, it would certainly seem to me that if the park board is against it, the town council would be hard pressed to say they still want to go forward and do it. But I mean, I don't know.
I think that I think there's examples, maybe not really close locally across the country, that do have these destination type parks that do charge things like this. I actually think that it's almost similar to parking in downtown Chicago. I mean, it's just that's the role if you get used to doing that.
Yeah, see, I don't agree at all, because I think that those are all places that are destinations. Those are places that you go for a specific reason to shop, like Whiting and Lake Michigan. You go to see to be on the Lake Michigan beach, Whiting. So I can't think of any other park in our area, that would charge, I mean, without having some sort of big attraction, some sort of reason. Chicago's different. You pay for everything in Chicago.
Yeah. You pay parking no matter what.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How
then-
would we, if we're looking at the view to maybe generate some business over there, or a little restaurant, then you have to park to go into the view to get a sandwich, or?
Well, I think there's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of things that you would have to work out, and there's a lot of that part of it. And that to be honest, I'm not looking forward to it if we did decide to do that. And that's why I wanted to get this feedback, because
And we have to, Mark, we have to police that in some way too. I hate to see our police force sitting over there to catch somebody that's 5 minutes over or something. I don't know. That's
Well,
how I look at it.
they drive by with a scanner, it's all electronic now, but let me ask you that, like, if we have a wedding and it's a big wedding, is the parking lot completely full for a
Not
wedding? Like,
No, not completely. I'd say half the lot is for a wedding, if
Yeah.
it's maximum 210 people there. So.
yeah, I just see all kinds of problems. I mean, is some out of towner that goes to play golf, he's gonna have to shell more money to park than it costs him for a round of golf. I mean, you got all kinds of,
Well, like I said, there's ways you can get around it if you choose to do it. But I think there's a lot of things to work out. Lots of moving parts. You have the dog parks, the golfers, the driving range, the people who are just coming to go walk, to go up the stairs. You do have all the banquet types. I mean, all the shelter rentals and things like that. So I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it. And you're right. I mean, it's technology based, so you can, it gives you flexibility to do various things as I've learned into it, but it's still, someone's got to put all that data into it. And there is definitely some time and energy that would be focused to be able to do that if that was the direction we wanted to go. So, but All right, well, with that, I guess I would ask that you maybe approve this as the year in review annual report, and then I will take this and pass it along on the staff's behalf as well as the park board's behalf to the town council, which is a requirement from the Indiana code.
I motion to
moved.
approve that. Darren, you got it.
Moved and approved,
Second.
or moved and seconded. All in
Yeah.
favor? Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Okay. That brings us to the end of almost an hour-long meeting as my first in charge.
well, I'm so glad that you're in charge now. All I know is I would have been done eating dinner.
The last meeting, I got on at like 12:08 and you guys were gone already. That must.
Yeah,
must
well,
have been-
I took care of that meeting because Mr. Repay wasn't there, so.
Well, I was like 8 minutes late and you guys were done already.
What's the difference between that meeting and this meeting? Who wasn't there? Let me see.
Hey, I didn't say a word.
And you
All right,
guys
we
bumped
need
me.
one more motion.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Are we overthrowing you?
You bumped me. They
All
right.
bumped me at the last meeting.
Has it been seconded? I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, second,
Yeah.
right.
Moved and
right,
seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Everybody have a good evening. Let's hope that
Have a good
tomorrow is a
evening.
peaceful transition of our government.
We'll see ya.
Hope so.